The next question is on which side of the board I am strong, or shorter version, where am I strong? Based on pawn structures, you might have a pawn majority on one side of the board, and you want to play there by pushing your pawns. Your strength can be in the king side, queen side, or in the center. Or maybe you don't have a pawn majority, but you have piece majority on one side of the board. Knowing where you are strong will very often give you a good idea what plan to choose. Let's look at the board. It's white to move. How would you continue if you were white? Please pause the video and think. Alright. In the game, white played here h4, trying to go h4, h5 and attacking the king side. What do you think about this move? Well, we'll come back to that in a second. Let's evaluate the position one step at a time. The material is equal. King's positions are also equal. If you ask the first question, what are the problems the opponent has? Black has not any serious problem. What problems do we have? We don't have any serious problems too. So here comes the third question that will help us to figure it out what plan to choose, which is which side of the board I am strong, or where I am strong. And where we are strong is in the queen side. We have pawn majority, 3 against 2, and the bishop on g2 is just bombarding the queen side, and just like an airplane from the air is saying, push the pawns, I am helping you from the air. So if you say it here, let's play a3 with idea to play b4, b5. You say it rook b1 with b4, b5. Or queen c3 with b4, b5. Or queen b2 with b4, b5. All of these moves makes lots of sense, and they are good moves. If black plays a5, not allowing us to play b4, for example queen c3, a5 anyway, we can do a3 and b4 will be unstoppable. Then b4, b5 will push our pawns, we'll play c6, create a passed pawn, and we will play in the queen side. When white played h4, clearly they didn't ask this question. They had the bishop on g2 bombarding the queen side, queen, rook, and of course this pawn majority, and they are playing h4, h5 just because they want to attack the king. But this is not the language of the position. The language of the position was playing in the queen side and not to attack. Black played knight e5, h5 they just played h6, and white didn't know how to continue, played rook d1 and so on. While in the initial position, they could have organized b4, b5 plan and have very easy game. In this section, we'll see more example with this question. Which side of the board I am strong? King side, queen side, or in the center? Let's go. This is a training position. I changed few stuff from the previous one, and I want to ask you this question. What do you think if now white played h4? Please pause the video, take your time, and come back with an answer. Alright, let's first of all evaluate the position. If you calculate it and say it, the material is equal, you are right. King's position, more or less, both kings are okay. Positional aspects, oh, we have here a bishop pair advantage. Now, this question, which side of the board we are strong? If you say it in the queen side, because here we have pawn majority, 2 against 1, that's right. So if you play here a3, b4 and so on, you start to push your pawns there, that's a legit plan. But you are strong actually in this case in the king side as well. Yes, in the king side black has pawn majority. They have 4 against our 3 pawns. However, look at these bishops, they are staring at opponent's king. Our queen of course is ready to support the bishops. Knight is ready. So in this case, this is a bit different than the previous example, and here white can really play in the king side as well, especially using this awkward knight on g6 by playing h4. The next move, if white plays h5, this knight on g6 will be almost trapped. It cannot go to e5 because here we have 3 pieces. It cannot go to e7 or f8, and if it will go to h8, this is very, very ugly, right? So after h4, if they play rook d8, for example, preparing knight f8 backward move, then after h5, knight f8, what we will play? Okay, if you say h6, good job. h6 going forward and ruining black's pawn structure. If they take, it's very bad. If they play g6, their dark squares became very weak. After h4, if black plays h5 themselves, now they are touching their king's pawns and they are weakening it. White can play, for example, knight g5, next queen f3 or queen e2, attack the h5 pawn, so h5 significantly weakened their position. Or we could even take on g6 here. And after fg6, they will have very ugly pawn structure and this weak e6 pawn. Now, for example, knight g5 with a big advantage. So in the initial position, white has a big advantage and they are strong in both sides of the board. In the queen side and in the king side as well. This can happen too. Let's see other examples. It's black to move. You have here a good position. How would you continue it? Please pause the video, find out why you have a good position, and come up with a good plan. Okay, let's ask this question. Which side of the board we are stronger? We can notice that in the king side we have pawn majority. We have 4 against 3. Also, we have this strong bishop, which is looking right to opponent's king. We have rooks here. Knight is ready to join the attack. And if this pawn has a supporter, for example, another pawn, black's attack will be very strong. So we are going to play here in the king side. We need to move this knight, for example, to h7, then f5, f4, knight g5, and start attack to opponent's king, where we are very strong. If instead of knight h7 you said, let's play g6, h5, h4, also possible plan. The most important thing is that we know that we are playing in the king side, and we don't play a move like b6 or rook c8. Another example. It's white to play. How would you continue? You can pause and think. Okay. Yeah, white has something on the king side as well. They have this half open file, so when they play rook f2, rook f1, it makes some sense. But for a second, let's look at the queen side. White has d5 passed pawn, which is a connected passed pawn. White has 3 pawn against 2. So, if they push here c4, c5, they will have a huge advantage in the queen side. Let's look at this. c4. How black can stop the c5 move? b6 did you say? Okay. b4. Next move, c5. And this pawn will go just straight to the queen. And compare this c4 move with playing rook f2, rook f1, and then what? So, asking this question, which side of the board very often can help us to find out the correct plan. I'll show you one more example. It's black to move. How would you continue? Did you pause the video already? If no, please do that. Okay, which side of the board we are strong? In the queen side? Not really. In the king side? Well, we have here 4 pawn against 3. Yeah, but we don't forget about the center too. We have here 2 pawns and white doesn't have pawns on the E and D files. They have F, which is stopping us to play E5 and to push these pawns together. Okay, we play here F6. We limit the bishop, and the next move we are going to play E5. We are going to have here a strong center, both knight defends the pawn, and slowly we will push our pawns and we will play in the center. So champions, when you ask this third question, don't forget about the center. It's not just king side or queen side. You can also be strong in the center and you play in the center. By the way, if you noticed that and you wanted to play d4 and push your passed pawn, well, strategically makes sense. The problem is that this pawn suddenly can become very vulnerable. White can play knight f3, rook d1, and you will have time to defend the d4 pawn. That's why f6 is much more accurate with the same plan playing in the center. Champions, so based on the pawn structure and your pieces, you often will be stronger on one side of the board. King side, queen side, or in the center. And once you understand which side of the board you are stronger, you will have an idea where to play. Again, feel free to paraphrase the third question, where I am strong in your own way, or have a shorter version of it. For example, where.
If you liked it, good. For me it seems a bit awkward, so I think where I am strong is short enough. But up to you. All I want here is that you ask these questions during the game and never be in a situation where you don't know what to do. Now let's go to the fourth question.